You ever wake up to find your peaceful little garden turned into a crime scene? I did. And guess who called the cops? Karen from next door. It was a Saturday morning, birds chirping, sunlight hitting my fresh flower beds, when I heard the loudest knock you can imagine. 3 uniformed officers stood at my door. One of them said, "Sir, we received a complaint about illegal garden structures." I blinked. Illegal garden structures? I thought it was a prank. But then I saw her, Karen, standing behind the officers, arms folded, lips twisted like she'd just caught me smuggling diamonds. Apparently, she'd reported me for unauthorized decorative installations. You see, I had placed a few small garden statues, an angel, a rabbit, and a gnome with sunglasses. Harmless stuff, but according to Karen, they violated neighborhood uniformity. The officers checked everything, saw no real issue, and left after giving me a verbal warning. But Karen? She wasn't satisfied. As soon as they drove off, she yelled across the fence, "Don't think you can just clutter the street with your cheap decorations. I'm on the HOA committee, and I will make you remove them." I took a deep breath and said nothing. No point arguing with someone who picks fights with flower pots. But that night, as I sat in my backyard staring at the moonlight over my garden, something inside me snapped, not out of anger, but out of amusement. If Karen thought my little statues were offensive, I wondered how she'd react to something bigger. And that's when the idea hit me. I opened my laptop, searched for local sculptors, and started sketching a plan that would make my garden unforgettable. The design? Larger-than-life statues, tall, majestic, and beautiful. But here's the twist. Each one would have Karen's name carved right onto it. I wasn't breaking any law, and I'd stay within HOA rules for art installations. But symbolically, I was about to turn her obsession with control into the centerpiece of the neighborhood. I smiled to myself as I finalized the designs. The war had officially begun. And it was going to be glorious. The next morning, I woke up with a mission to turn my backyard into the most talked-about garden in the neighborhood, not just for its beauty, but for the perfect dose of poetic revenge. I started with calls to a few local sculptors. Most were either too busy or didn't take me seriously when I said I wanted statues featuring a woman's name, Karen. But then I found a young artist named Liam, who absolutely loved the concept. "Wait," he said over the phone, laughing. "You're telling me your neighbor reported your garden, and now you want to honor her with statues?" "Exactly," I replied. "Big, elegant statues, classical style, marble finish, nothing offensive, just monumental." Liam was in. Within a few days, he came by with sketches, elegant stone figures holding garden tools, standing among flowers, each with a small engraving at the base, in memory of Karen's concerns. When I saw the first mock-up, I couldn't stop grinning. It was artful, dramatic, and the kind of humor that made a statement without saying a word. Within 2 weeks, the first statue was delivered. A graceful stone figure about 6 feet tall, positioned right in the center of my garden path. As the crane lowered it into place, I noticed something magical. Neighbors started peeking out from their porches. Mrs. Green from across the street clapped quietly. Old Mr. Parker gave me a thumbs up. Even the mailman stopped mid-route to admire it. But of course, one pair of eyes burned hotter than the sun. Karen's. She stormed out the moment she saw the base plate being screwed in. "What is this?" she yelled from her driveway. "Oh, this?" I said, pretending innocence. "It's art. I'm dedicating my garden to you for inspiring me." Her jaw dropped. She pointed her finger at me like I'd just vandalized city property. "You can't do that! You can't use my name!" I smiled calmly. "Actually, Karen, I can. It's a common name, not copyrighted. Besides, the HOA rules allow decorative art under 6 feet. You'd know that, right? Being on the committee and all." Her face turned red. She stormed back inside, muttering something about lawyers and defamation. By the end of that week, the second statue was ready. This one would face directly toward her house. I didn't realize it then, but the neighborhood was about to turn into an art gallery and a battlefield. The second statue arrived on a sunny Thursday morning. A tall, stone figure holding a watering can, perfectly positioned so that it looked toward Karen's front door. It was poetic, calm, elegant, and absolutely infuriating for her. The moment the delivery truck left, I heard the inevitable bang of her door. Out she came, sunglasses on, clipboard in hand, like the self-appointed sheriff of suburbia. She stopped across the street, waving a document. "You're violating multiple neighborhood codes. This is harassment." I raised an eyebrow. "Harassment? Karen, it's just landscaping." "Don't play smart," she snapped. "You're mocking me. These statues have my name on them." I smiled. "Your first name, Karen, not your last. It's art. You said my old garden cluttered the street. I'm just making it more refined." That line almost made her explode. "Refined? You're turning this place into a circus!" Before I could reply, Mr. Parker, my 70-year-old neighbor with a sense of humor sharper than any HOA. "Rule book!" shouted from his porch. "I like the new look. We finally have culture around here." Half the block laughed. Karen turned scarlet. That's when she declared war. Over the next few days, I noticed her sneaky new tactics. She began taking photos of my property every morning, documenting every flower, every pebble. Then she called an emergency HOA meeting. I wasn't invited, of course, but news travels fast in our neighborhood. Apparently, she tried to convince the committee that my statues were provocative, installations targeting a resident. But the board wasn't buying it. The president, Mr. Lewis, even said, "They're quite tasteful, actually. Maybe we should encourage more artistic expression." That didn't just bruise her ego, it shattered it. By that weekend, she filed a formal complaint to city code enforcement. 2 officials showed up, inspected the statues, and confirmed what I already knew. Everything was legal, perfectly within the rules. Karen watched from her porch as they drove off without writing a single citation. Her face told me everything. She wasn't just angry anymore, she was determined. That evening, I caught her peering through her blinds, watching me plant new flowers around the statues. She wanted a reaction, but I wasn't giving her one. Instead, I was planning my final masterpiece, one that would leave the entire street talking, and Karen completely speechless. If you've ever faced a Karen before, you know. They don't stop until you do. But I wasn't stopping. Not now. Not after she'd reported me, embarrassed me, and spent weeks trying to take my garden down. No, I was going to finish this with style. So I called Liam again. "We're going bigger," I told him. "Not just one more statue, a centerpiece." He chuckled. "You want a monument, huh?" "Exactly. The Karen Memorial Garden. This time we designed something spectacular. A 10-foot marble fountain, surrounded by blooming roses, soft lights, and 3 smaller stone figures holding scrolls that read, "Dedicated to those who complain but inspire change." At the base of the fountain, engraved in elegant letters, it said, "The Karen Collection." It was classy, funny, and absolutely within the rules. The day of the installation, a small crowd gathered. Neighbors lined the sidewalks, phones out, whispering in amusement. Even the local paper sent a reporter, apparently. Word had spread about the Karen Art Garden. And right on cue, out came Karen herself. She froze at the edge of her driveway, staring in disbelief at the fountain glistening in the morning sun. She shouted across the fence, "This is harassment! You're using my name publicly." I calmly replied, "Karen, it's just art. I didn't say it was you, but if you see yourself in it, maybe that's something to think about." The crowd chuckled, cameras clicked, and for the first time, Karen didn't have a comeback. She turned around, stomped back into her house, and slammed the door so hard it echoed down the street. Over the next few weeks, something amazing happened. The neighborhood began to love the garden. People stopped by for photos. Kids pointed at the statues, and one neighbor even offered to start a community art walk. Karen tried to fight it for a while, filed another complaint, wrote angry emails, but nobody took her seriously anymore. She had become the joke she tried to make of me. And then, one morning, Her house went up for sale. A for sale sign stood on her perfect green lawn. She moved out quietly a month later. No goodbye, no confrontation, just silence. Now, every evening, when I water my roses beside the statues, I can't help but smile. Karen wanted to erase my garden. Instead, she became part of it. Forever. Enjoying this wild neighborhood drama? Hit that subscribe button for more real-life revenge stories and HOA chaos. If you loved watching Karen finally get what she deserved, give this video a thumbs up. And tell me in the comments what you would have done if she reported your garden.